why it's really important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about a permanent loss.
When really, at the end of the day, it's just a matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so we can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and D-gentlemen of all ages. Welcome back to the Degen Roundtable for our Sunday flagship news show. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a handful of topics, including a bit of a wrap-up from what the heck happened in Davos with the World Economic Forum, and why are they suddenly talking about crypto in a positive light? Additionally, we have a bit of information going on with the Bank of Japan and how one random country and their interest rates are somehow affecting all of us. And then on top of that, we also got a handful of other news stories and more. But more importantly, folks, thank you for tuning in on a beautiful snowy weekend. From what I hear, I got a little bit of a dusting, but I'm sure some of my friends may have gotten a little bit more than I did. Outside of that, hello, I am Zenith. I'm your host for this evening, and I'm joined by an excellent cast of characters here tonight. Up first is my co-host, Mr. Will Stevenson. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing good. How are you? Life is fantastic over here in Texas. Everyone's losing their damn minds. To be fair, they hardly ever get, sub-freezing weather out here. And it's like in the teens and 20s right now. There's ice all over the roads. I've been just chilling in the camper all day. Me and Marco did some work yesterday over here at the ranch and over here at the race car parts place. And it was super cool and awesome. But man, everyone's going crazy. Like I went to the store to go get like a couple groceries or whatever, and like almost all of the packaged bread, in like the plastic bread section of the store was all gone. There's plenty of fresh bread from the bakery, so I don't know what the hell the folks were thinking there. Like, I gotta get the bread with all the preservatives so I can last for months in this terrible crazy winter. It's just like, I picked up some bread and some pepperoni and like cheese and stuff and called it a day. It's good though. I was racing around in the snow earlier, and Mama Dog, who is lying on the couch, she chased after a rabbit, and it was super awesome. I like rustled it up out of the grass, and she was like fucking hauling ass after it, and I was chasing him on my little dirt bike thing, and it was so fucking cool. So I've been enjoying the snow. I've been having fun. It's been great. It's been chilly. But enough about me. Brendan Broski, what's new and exciting with you? How are you doing, man?
Hey guys, nice to see you. Welcome to everybody that's joining us tonight, as Z said, on a cold and blustery weekend for most of the United States. Got our first snowstorm since moving out of Miami. Miami literally is 90 degrees today. It was like 87 degrees today in Miami. And here we are in 12-degree weather and get 10 inches of snow, inch of ice, and loving it. Honestly, really enjoyed having a little bit of change of scenery, change of temperatures, change of weather. And you know who didn't love it? Our dog. He's lived in Miami his whole life. So he's 13 and he's lived in Miami his whole life. So he's an old man. He comes to the north where you can get, seasons. And he doesn't like it. Let me just say that. He got out and he just would not go down the stairs. I'd shoveled the driveway enough where one person could walk down to where they've barely half plowed our street, and he's like, yeah, not feeling this. So he went out for about 5 minutes, peed, and was like, that's it, I'm out. And so he's been out for a grand total of 5 minutes, probably total of 2 times today. That was pretty funny. But my wife, being from South America and then growing up here for half her life, but in the South, she had never shoveled snow. It was her first time shoveling snow in her 38 years of life. So it was a good time, and we enjoyed it. We took a long walk in the snow and around our neighborhood, and Patriots, by the way, New England Patriots football back in the Super Bowl. It's been so long. We've been bad for so long, and that's a joke. But honestly, start of the season, would never ever have expected to be going back to the Super Bowl. Crazy game out in Denver, and honestly, just enjoying life, and crypto's in an interesting place right now, but it's weird because it doesn't feel like a bear market, right? Like normally when you hit the top and you're going down, you're going down, and we're like still 25% from all-time highs. Like it doesn't feel like a normal, like what I would consider my feelings in past bear markets. So I still think there's a good opportunity for us in Q1, maybe bleeding into Q2. But are we running out of time? That is the question.
That has been one of the big questions. And I mean, I think you're correct, which is like, does it feel like a bear market? By us who have been here for probably 5+ years at this point, no, not really, because it hasn't just like giga dumped. But at the same time, I've been keeping up with Fear and Greed Index. We're currently sitting at 20.
Yeah. No, if you watch crypto Twitter, if you listen to even people on other shows, even people on Twitter, I mean, they called the top, 2 months ago. And we'll see.
You called the greatest liquidation event in all time, including technical errors and insider trading. Yeah, good job, man. You should probably be investigated.
Right. But most people called it after the whole Binance BS. And, this is the one thing when you do bring in large companies and in large institutions, there is a little bit more games that are played, right? And so you understand that. And I don't know, like I was talking with Will about this on Wednesday, but I don't have like nothing. I don't get pain anymore. When I first got into crypto like 6-7 years ago, it was, highs and lows. And now it's just, I don't know. I don't have emotions
just
anymore.
The lows,
it is what
man.
it is.
It's just the lows.
But maybe I'm different because again, I never put in too much that I've overexerted myself. And I have a good job, which helps that I'm not struggling for money. And I believe in it long term. So I have pulled out of a lot of coins, 6 months ago that I was just didn't feel long term, and I've reduced my investments to a much smaller core bag. Granted, I'm still in the Richard Heart ecosystem, so take that for what it is. But my other two biggest holdings are Bitcoin, still not bad, Ethereum, and still I still got Cardano. I sold about half my bag when it hit its high around 120, 125, whatever it was. But yeah, I mean, it's like I'm also not in a single static ecosystem where I'm just bleeding constantly. But that's where most of my money is. So
there you go. I mean, to be honest, though, it feels like pretty much everything is bleeding, especially if your name is not like Bitcoin or Ethereum. Yep. Even stuff like Solana has been really struggling lately. Like I want to say Solana's sitting around like 120 right now or something. Let me get 121, pretty much right on the dot. Yeah. Because they had the high of 254 back in September, and back in 2025, early 2025, in January, they got all the way up to dang near $300.
Yep.
But since then, it's just been honestly a very similar path to a kind of Ethereum, it feels like. But Ethereum's actually holding up better now that it's gotten through all the weird nonsense of getting shorted to oblivion. But yeah, everything that is not pretty much named Bitcoin or Ethereum has been bleeding for months at this point. And I do really believe that these next week or two really will be a very impactful moment in the crypto cycle, because I think what we see happening here could ultimately affect the trends going on for pretty much the next 6 months. And what I mean by that is that we had the correction from 126,000. We came down, bottomed out at 79K. And then over the last 2 months, effectively been building up towards something. Got all the way back up to $98,000. If it was truly a bear market, would we have bounced that high? Arguably, could be a dead cat bounce. That's an option. But we did recover the 20 and 50-day moving average. Now we're currently back below those. But at the same time, as we're going to see with tonight, with a lot of the clips from Davos, and then we got macro news events up on the horizon as well. There's legitimate potential to see a big pump, and it could just be confirmation that we're kind of just in a 60-day cycle effectively. Like, yeah, we're hunting for the cycle low right now. Guess what comes after that? A move towards the upside. So,
Z, you mentioned dead cat bounce. Can it be a dead cat bounce if you're like multiple 60-day cycles in?
I don't think so.
Doesn't like I understand what you're saying and that it's fair because like it's a unique cycle, but it just, I don't know. I feel like we're past the point where it's a dead cat bounce.
Yeah, it would be a long one, that's for sure. So I get what you're saying, but also the dead cat bounce is just a stop along the way.
Yes,
to more downside.
I agree. I agree. We just, again, unique cycle. Haven't seen this before. Now that doesn't mean we can't, right? But yeah, it's just interesting, and I love to hear the people. But look, I actually think that it's really bullish that we're at 2020 fear and greed 90,000 Bitcoin.
That's what I'm saying.
It's insane. Like how can you get more? Like how can you go down to zero from 90K? What's that, like 85K? Like it's actually pretty bullish in my opinion.
I think
at some point the fear and greed index stops being like a useful signal though, right? Like it kind of wears itself out and people sort of kind of understand it. Like it's not a good signal forever, is it? Because they measure a whole bunch of things. Like they measure sentiment, they measure price action, but like eventually every signal or every indicator like trends to flatness or something, right? That's what Agent J was saying a long time ago, as I recall.
It can, but it also comes back into how you do the math. So this is something that I think we've chopped up, which is looking at like top indicators, like Pi Cycle top indicator and the MVRV score. Those things, they've worked in the past because Bitcoin has had very accelerated growth during periods. And what that does is the mathematical equation is that you have a really long-term indicator on the bottom, and then you have a shorter-term indicator on the top. So when that short-term indicator really jacks up high, the ratio hits the correct thing. But if you never have accelerated growth, you could still have the same like total price movement over the amount of time. But if that shape looks different, the indicator might not pop. So when it comes to stuff like fear and greed indicator, it's really a question of how you measure it. And because fear and greed is like the definition of a soft indicator, which is that it doesn't measure hard numbers. It measures market sentiment. It has some like numbers in there based on price movement and action and stuff, but it's really a sentiment indicator. So because of that, I think that fear and greed isn't going to be one of the ones that gets normalized over the long term where it stops having volatility in it. Because believe me, there's plenty of volatility in that one still. But I think that because it's really trying to measure the human element, the markets may change. The humans do not. I mean, we may get a little bit smarter over as time goes on, but still, the all the stuff we covered in book club since like literally the 1920s when they first were doing stock market stuff. What's been like the battle of the ages? Your own emotions. And well, fear and greed index it's the emotion index effectively.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yo, I have an idea.
Hit us.
A total non sequitur, but we can measure our very own fear and greed index, which is more of an idea of measuring the audience interactivity. Should we do some chat motherfucking shout outs, ladies and germs?
Yes, sir. Let's get to it. Alrighty. Number one degen of the evening, good buddy around these parts, Mr. Moonpilled Rational Optics. He says, hope everyone is safe, warm, and has a strong drink in hand.
Oh, I do. I got the Jameson.
Ooh, nice glass as well.
Excellent.
Oh yeah, it's a matching Jameson glass.
Yeah, I recently did a liquor store run, and because we were out of whiskey, so I got the three different types. We have the mixer, which is the Jim Beam, or if you're just feeling extra blue color that day, you can just drink it straight. We got the Woodford Reserve, which is the good sipping whiskey, and then I picked up a bottle of Glenlivet 12-year aged.
Oh, nice.
Single malt Scotch whiskey.
I really like the Glenlivet 12.
I gotta say, I think the jury's still out on this one for me. Like, it has a bit of peat on the front end, but the back end is also just super smooth. And I'm like,
caramely.
Okay, I'm down with that. I like the smooth stuff.
So I agree. I'm not gonna say it's my favorite whiskey, but when push comes to shove, I don't mind it. I actually like that little bite on the front end a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, I can see that.
So we had here we were actually, as of 2 days ago, we're expecting to get 2 feet of snow. We didn't end up getting that much. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go to the store and get some necessities, case of beer, bottle of whiskey. I did get some water and some pasta, but I'm like, how long am I going to be at my house for? It's not the apocalypse. Like people, I understand, like, right, like if you get 2 inches of ice in the south, you might be closed for like 12 days. Like who knows when you're going to reopen, because you just don't have the infrastructure to fix it. And by the way, it's not just the infrastructure of like clearing the ice. It's like, okay, how do I fix the power lines when like 50% of them are now damaged? So it takes a long time. So I understand like that aspect, but like here, like what's the biggest issue that I have? My Tesla's not going to charge because we're out of power for like a few days. Like,
batteries and battery powered things are so like oddly finicky, because one of my buddies was taking a class and people were like proposing solutions to things, but it wasn't even a technical class. And this one girl, I guess, proposed an idea of like, we should build a solar farm in the middle of the desert because it's, they got a lot of sun out there. And then my buddy in the class was like, I tried convincing this person that batteries don't work well in the heat, and trying to build energy storage in a desert is a bad idea. They just didn't listen to me. As a like professional engineer, can you please write a letter to tell these people that they are wrong? And then the other thing is, on the other half, if it gets too cold, the batteries also don't like that either.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, so for my wife and I, we're always like the one electric car, one gas car family. Like we're never going to have just electric vehicles. But having one to get around town, like it's fantastic. And
it's a good little putzer.
What's that, Will?
Just kind of putz around, and one of the things that causes like the most wear and tear on regular cars is just like getting in, driving it for 5 minutes, turning it off again. Like cars are designed to like they run most optimally when they run for 30 minutes to an hour or something like that. If you turn your car on and off and on and off and on and off, that's a good way to get carbon buildup on your not your pistons, but on your valves and shit. So like that's something to keep in mind. So yeah, using the little electric cars for just like little skittering around here and there. And I don't know what the cost is for using electricity as opposed to using gasoline, but I would imagine it's comparable.
Well, I mean, the nice thing is when you drive an electric vehicle, if you're not hitting the gas, it brakes for you automatically, but it doesn't use brake pads. It's like an engine brake.
Yep.
So you never have to really replace your brakes because you never really use them. And I think like keeping them for 5 years is probably good, because if the battery goes, and there's a large cost there, but if the battery doesn't go, I mean, there's not much, there's no upkeep on the car pretty much at all. It's nice.
That's awesome. Hell yeah.
That's true. But I'm just saying, you could either have the best of both worlds or the worst of both worlds by going out, getting a Prius and swapping it to have a Cummins engine in it. That exists, by the way. You can look it up. People have done it. It's either that or they LS swap that bitch.
Hold
That's
on.
crazy.
Prius with Cummins. Dear God. Thing's fucking rolling coal. Oh my God. That is amazing.
True. Alrighty, let's keep this going though. We had a handful of excellent people to talk to tonight. All right, up next, Mr. Sam D. Stevenson. He says, shout out to cool people who put on consistent shows with the Italian man there.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Hey, much appreciated, good sir. You're also doing consistent work over there, so we like shout out to you as well. Doing cool stuff. Up next, Mr. Slide 180 coming in with the cheers. Cheers to you, good sir. Happy to see you as always. And another good friend of the show, Luna C Point, saying, hey gang, she's in Miami.
Crazy. I don't know if she lives in Miami, but I literally just moved out of Miami, like 4 months ago? And had I known, we could have met up.
Well, the Sea Point, it kind of makes sense. Miami's on the sea. So it's like there's a lot of good options there. Excellent. Good to see you, Luna.
Thanks for checking in.
Excellent. Up next, Mr. Centurion 54X. This man has been grinding lately, and I love to see it. Sir, you are a golf sicko, and I love it. He says, what's up, my DGen friends? Just wrapped up my game of golf. Shot an 86.
Damn.
That was a damn good score, sir. That was a damn good score.
Well done.
Brian and I were actually talking in the green room earlier about a little bit of golf chit chat because we actually see you still out here grinding along with me. I played last weekend. It was 42 degrees out, still sunny though. So as long as you had the hoodie and the beanie, like we were pretty good. And I mean, course closes at like 3:30, so that's when the sun goes down around these parts. But either way, it wasn't that bad. Lost only a handful of balls. Fed the lake a few times, but there's a par 4 on my local course. It's a short par 4, 250 to carry the water. And then the back of the green is probably like 290-ish. And then I have notoriously shanked many balls, either slice it way out of bounds or just pop it a bit and feed the lake. But this time I did not. I thought I may hit the first one into the lake. I hit a provisional and I found both of them on the other side. It felt so good. Yeah.
Very nice. 250
carry
in the air. That's a shot.
Yes, sir. But yeah, I don't know. There's other ways to play golf. I actually hit up top. I played golf twice last weekend because it was the long weekend. Went to Top Golf, used the simulator mode there.
Mm-hmm.
And gosh, I think I shot like I think it was Spanish links. I was playing the white tees and using their scoring, I shot like I want to say an 81, but they don't have putting or chipping or anything. They have the weird game where it's like when you're close enough to the green, you aim at like the close target. And then depending on like how well you hit it into the target, it calculates like the putting for you. So it felt good, but at the same time, I know it's not real. Got to tell myself.
So speaking of golf, we have the American Express Championship or whatever it's called this week. And round 2, we have an up-and-coming American, Blades Brown, shooting a course-tying record 60. By the way, he had a chance at a 59 and missed a 6-foot putt on 18. I haven't seen an 18-year-old have a round like that since Tiger Woods. Like, this is out of this world. And it's nice to see another American up and coming. Granted, he didn't have a great round today, +2, but expected, out there where they're playing. I think there's 3 courses, and yesterday he played on the easiest one. They're at La Quinta. I believe they're La Quinta. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Keep in mind, you're saying the easiest course, but these are still PGA Tour courses from the tips.
Yeah. None of them are easy. I'm just saying, like, if you were to pick one of the easiest of the 3, right, you're probably just saying slightly easier. But nonetheless, when you tie a course record, it doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter which one you're shooting at that point. So we didn't have a good round today. Probably a little letdown after the incredible performance and the adrenaline that was probably shooting through him. But yeah, this would have been for 59. And he had a full ride to play to go to college. And he said, he had a full ride to go to college. And he said, you know what? I'm going to go pro.
If he had been on a Degen Roundtable advertisement, there may have been a commentator saying,
"Oh, he whiffed.
He's a loser.
He pulled it."
Archer wins.
Reginald Gerald III. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, good on the kid. Like, going pro at 17 instead of going to college. I mean, you can already tell that probably the right decision because this kid's going to be a stud. If he can keep his nose out of Miami snow and other things, but anything can happen when you're pro, right? When you start pro young, who knows if you keep the grind, if you keep the ability to stay, true to the sport. There's a lot of things that can take you out of the time it takes to be good. So who knows? But it looks like this kid's going to be good.
Well, and you were saying earlier in the green room too that like the ability for people like with the video and the analyzing of the swing and the new equipment and like all the technology that surrounds it now, like that, like it's just going to keep getting better and better, right?
In theory, yeah. I mean, even from when Tiger played until now, the technology has just exponentially improved from clubs to balls, especially the balls. I feel like balls have really, before when Tiger was playing, they were really focusing on like improving clubs, and now they're really focusing on improving clubs and balls. So you're kind of getting both sides of the game. And not only that, but they're shooting different balls depending on where they're on the course, right? Like you're shooting a different ball if you're on a par 3 and you want to drag it. You're shooting a different ball if you want to, if you're on a par 5 and you want to go for a 350-yard drive. So there's just a lot more analytics, like it is in every sport, that allows you to play the game differently than it was 20, 30 years ago.
That makes
Oh,
sense.
absolutely. And I mean, one of the players that I think does that right now is Bryson DeChambeau.
Mm.
I'm trying to find the clip of it right now, but he's just an absolute beast. And in PGA competition, he's had some like really aggressive shots where there's like this long par 5 that goes around a lake, and then he's just like, screw it, I'm just gonna aim for the green. And the dude literally carries the ball 400 yards and just like sticks it. It's just the most ridiculous thing ever.
It's a good ass shot.
True. Oh, and by the way,
I love
speaking
good
of
golf, and I love good up and coming players, especially if they're with the red, white, and blue.
that's true. But speaking of golf and tech, I do, and also I guess the theme of the show so far has been Florida. Well, Florida man has struck again, and there was something that came out of the PGA golf show. I don't know if you guys have seen this yet, but that is a center shafted driver.
Looks like a putter.
Yes, it is using the putter technology, actually. So Lab Golf has been creating what they call zero torque putters, which is they've been center mounting the shaft in the putter as opposed to the edge. What it does is that when you swing it, it's supposed to reduce the rotational forces to try to help keep the face more square. Well, someone thought it was a good idea to put it on a driver.
Did it work?
I don't think that's a good idea.
I think we've only seen a few like YouTube videos of people trying out this kind of stuff, but this definitely goes down as one of the most cursed golf clubs I've ever seen.
Is this like the Keltec company in the golfing world where they're just like trying crazy things all the fucking time?
Yeah, if Keltec made a golf club, they would make this.
Okay.
You know, the thing is, the difference between a driver and a putter is a putter, you're generally putting your weight above the ball. So having the putter centered in the head makes sense in a way. When you're driving, your body is not, and your center of gravity is not over the ball. And that doesn't make sense to me.
Whoa.
But hey, try what you try. It doesn't hurt to try new things, right?
Yeah, as long as you don't just keep going down the sunk cost fallacy. True. Alrighty, we got to keep this going. Sorry. Yes. Apologies to Recton Crypto. I know he's here to talk markets, and we just went on about.
We're getting into the markets. We're getting there.
Yeah, we are.
Markets look like shit, unless you're gold, which just hit new all-time high 5,000 1 hour before the show started. So
Powerman 5,000.
Yeah.
I want to say silver also hit $100. I got to double check this. Yep, 108 right now as we speak.
Shit.
Yeah, gold and silver are looking like what we would have expected the Bitcoin price charts to look like at the top, because they're going parabolic. They really are.
So what happens when people go from safe assets to risk on assets?
Oh boy.
We have not seen that yet, honestly. As much as some of the institutions have put money into Bitcoin and Ethereum, retail's still just been gold, silver pretty much, and some other safer plays. We haven't seen retail at all come into crypto. Very, very little. Yeah. And risk on, people that are risk on just aren't there yet.
That's one of the ways. I think there's also another evolving narrative that's going on. By the way, shout out to Tracker and Dace. Those two are the ones that have really been keeping me up to date with this one. But there's kind of a bit of another gold rush when it comes to gold reserves. Yeah. China has been very aggressive with trying to buy up gold in the last year or two.
Dumping dollar, add gold.
Yeah, well, what they're trying to do with it is theoretically they would like to at least have their yuan partially, or not the yuan, or a Chinese-based currency that is partially backed by gold. And as it stands right now, gold appears to be overtaking the US dollar when it comes to global reserves. So don't have a full-on conclusion on this one, but it's definitely an interesting data point to pull up and be like, yeah, things are moving. And it's kind of not what we thought. Because I thought we got pretty good at pulling gold out of the ground, but apparently we got even better at it over the last 2-3 years.
Interestingly enough, I just feel like at some point, gold, what is gold? Like, yes, you can trade it. It's usable in real life. To me, it's not a currency. Yeah, sure, it can be a store of value. It'll never be a real currency. So it can save you when inflation happens, but it's safe. It's safe. I have no issue with gold. I'm just saying that's probably not a long-term solution for most economies.
It doesn't
Yeah.
have the fungibility or the liquidity or the
Movability.
Yeah, it's just not like it's you can't carry all this gold in your pocket.
In
I mean,
fact,
that's
you're
what
not even allowed to carry gold pretty much. Like if you try to get on a plane with gold, good luck.
you're going straight to jail, or they're just confiscating it, and then you're good luck. Good luck, broski. All your shit's all your shit's
So
gone.
gold is just if you own gold, it's just paper for the most part. Yes, you can own gold and coins and things like. Don't get me wrong, but like if you want to move, good luck. If you
Yeah,
want to take it with you, if there's something that happens, an event of some sort, and you want to get out of your country, good luck.
I think that's actually how Michael Saylor got into Bitcoin. Is they had a whole bunch of gold in like Chile or Argentina or somewhere down in South America or something, and they needed to get it to somewhere else. So like, okay, what if we build this giant ship, put all the gold on the ship, and fucking sail it on over, and then sell the ship when we get there? Like, is that how we get our gold moved out of this one place into another? And that's when he like got into the Bitcoin thing or something like that. I think I heard Sami talking about that, or some other crypto historian or something like that. Crypto storyteller, perhaps. Campfire storyteller.
There you go. You guys raised a really good point, which is like, are people going after gold? Yes. Is gold a currency? The answer is a hard no. But does it matter? And
No.
honestly, I think the trend that we're seeing is that it's less about chasing currency and more about chasing value, even
Yeah.
if the value is heavy and hard to move. So
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I look at this and I'm like, okay, it's people that are looking at it not as number go up, but as kind of like the imaginary economic value, trying to maintain it or increase it.
Mhm.
I don't even know if this is a speculative play. I would almost argue that the level of gold increases is less about speculation and more about accumulation because of the way that the structure of the charts has been working, which is that it's only primarily up. It's not up and down, it's only up. And as a result, if it was more up and down, I'd believe that people are trying to like do some trades, do some like options, that kind of stuff. But when it's just straight up, that to me just looks like pure increase in demand.
Mm-hmm. And like you look at this chart, and the gold is like the inverse of the dollar.
Yeah, it's exactly what you said.
Yeah, and that correlation right there, I think, is also another large point.
There's a lot of factors at play currently.
Oh, sorry, go for it. Am I lagging?
No, I'm having a little bit of a delay here. My apologies.
Oh, no, you're
I
good.
think I'm lagging.
I thought it was me at first too. Yeah, it was Brendan. No sweat, broski.
I was just gonna say I have felt some lag all day on the internet with the storm and the ice. I'm sure there's some reduction of quality of my connection tonight. But I was just gonna say that it's no surprise that the dollar and gold are sort of being inverse right now for multiple reasons. One, the United States is kind of trying to break itself away from the global elite, and that's going to affect the dollar in the short term. And if the global elite are being, de-incentivized to hold dollars, then what are they going to do? They're going to sell dollars and buy gold. So a year to 2 years, because I think things could
we're losing
change.
Oh,
but right now that's the narrative.
That's true. Yeah. You are coming in a little bit laggy. We'll see if we can roll through some more of these chats and then see if your connection improves, brother.
Ah, yes.
Alrighty, back to the old layout. Do it live. Always do it live.
Lots of chats.
Alrighty, up next, Mr. Hex Glenn. Happy Cold Sunday. Happy Cold Sunday to you, sir, as well. Hope you're having a good one. Lunacy Point coming in here saying, look, it's time in the game, not timing the game. Well said. It's definitely a strategy that has worked well for people that are in that kind of strategy. I think that even in the Bitcoin world too, that's a strategy that's proven to be effective. I mean, looking at Michael Saylor on that one, the guy is effectively holding through what is a top now, and he's only doubling down, buying the top and buying the way down. So
yeah,
look, if the plan is you're not trying to compound the gains like on that 4-year cycle basis, and you're just like, nope, 20-year horizon, then yeah, time in the game, not timing the game. That's for dang sure. Alrighty, Mr. Eddie G. He says, Richard, do something. LOL.
Ricky!
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
he did potentially do something this week. He may have sold all of his WPTC or
Oh yeah. Yeah.
PWPTC, I should say.
There were
Mm.
some addresses.
In theory,
selling,
if that
yeah.
was Richard's wallet, in theory,
Yep.
that was an interesting
suppose
play. I didn't hate it at all. We could also talk about the liquidity pull from a lot of the P tokens, which was also important with the compound and issues, and with the PWBTC issues. I thought that was huge. Saved a what probably would have been a lot more downside to the ecosystem this week. Could have been really bad.
Okay. I know nothing about this. I'm curious for us to hop into that after the chat shoutouts. That sounds fascinating.
Yeah, same here. Curious to see what it is. Alrighty. Miss Luna C Point saying Zenith's so fancy. Red wine for me tonight. Yes, I have a silver bullet, the classic. I don't know if you guys have seen Landman or not. I've been watching that recently, and it's very good. There was a really good quote from an episode. The guy's at a bar with a lawyer, uptight lawyer type, and he's like, "Yeah, all right, I'm gonna get out of here." And she's like, "What you been drinking?" And he goes, "I haven't been drinking. These are not alcoholic." And then she looks at the bartender. He goes, "Are these non-alcoholic?" And the bartender says, "They're not alcoholic if you're an alcoholic." There you go.
Oops.
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 Alrighty. Mr. Hex Skin Loss in Asia with the 07. Good to see you, sir, as always. Hopefully you have better weather than we have over here, because Lord knows what is this? The polar vortex? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm calling it Stephanie. This weather.
Stephanie.
Yep.
That's the name for it. All right. Alrighty. Mr. Diamond Hand Degenerate saying, "Hey, I know these guys. Hey, we know you. Good to see you, sir. Welcome as always." And we got another buddy coming in here. Mr. Moondog, howdy rowdies. Good to see you, sir. Always a pleasure. But yes, to Miss Luna's point, gold and silver are now legal tender in Florida. I'd argue they are once again legal tender in Florida, because that may have been a bit of a cove for, some naval operations, a little bit of piracy. I think they liked gold and silver as well. But yes, your point is not missed. I see you.
So now with it being legal tender, that doesn't mean that everyone has to accept it. I think that means that the government must accept it for like paying of taxes. Like you can't force a store to take your gold and silver coins if they have like no means to like if I walk up to Zenith's homemade lemonade stand and I go up to him and I'm like, "Hey, these gold and silver coins are legal tender. You must accept them. Do you have change?" And it's like
no change.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure about what that means. Like, what is legal tender, right? I think that I could be wrong.
I mean, legal is in reference to legality, which is enforced by the government. And you raised the point at first there, which is like, can you pay your taxes with it? If the answer is no, odds are it's not legal tender. But then again, that's always just geographically located as well. Some countries are going to be happy to take your US dollars. Some companies are not, or some countries are not. And well, we're in the US and US dollar is legal tender here. But yes, gold and silver making a comeback. Love to see it.
And now another thing about it being legal tender is like there's a question of like what is your recourse if you like are like, I must spend this with you, it is legal tender. Like if I go up to you and I try and give you this gold coin and you say I do not accept your gold coin, then it's like then there has been no transaction and I can't like sue you for not giving me the product and not like giving you the thing. So I think that what that essentially amounts to is like if you try to engage in litigation as a result of attempting to do this thing, like then there's no damages, there's no recourse or whatever. But like if the government says like, no, you can't pay your government stuff in this, then that's what I think that you have recourse. That's when I think you have like something that you can litigate with. So that's just off the top of my head. So don't take it with anything more than that.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I think Moondog is right there with you. He says businesses can refuse cash, which is legal tender. Legal tender equals recognized by the government for settling debts. There you go. Well said, sir.
Yep.
Thank you. Alrighty, last one. Centurion come back in here. He says it was 27 degrees, but the water was frozen and the sun was out. I feel you. Makes you feel like a champ for skipping them across the water or the ice in this standpoint. I will say last winter on that famous hole I was talking about, I definitely hit a ball onto the lake. At the time it was frozen and it remained frozen for about 2 months. And every time I played, that ball was still sitting in the center, just staring at me, reminding me of past mistakes. And it's like, okay, got it.
How thick was the ice? How bold were you feeling?
Not that bold, brother. Not that bold. Not worth
I've walked
It's a
on
golf ball. They are
2-inch ice
disposable.
before, and I think I've walked on 1-inch ice, but I don't think I've gone much thinner than that. I've never broken through ice, like catastrophically. You know, I've jumped in like tiny little ponds that are 4 foot deep or whatever, but I've never like over large rivers and things. I've never gone through anything thicker than 1 inch.
Look, to each their own.
It could be
Fortune
fun.
favors the bold. In that case, I don't know if the reward was worth the risk, but look, I did a polar plunge for New Year's this year. I do not want to do that during a round of golf. That sounds miserable.
Yeah. It's a good skill to have.
Yeah, it
But
is.
yeah, excellent. So that covers us on the chat shoutouts. Do we want to talk about the polling of the liquidity in the pulse chain ecosystem? Because that's something that I had not heard before, of the polling of the ecosystem, or maybe I heard Sami like mention it or something, but I've kind of been off in the weeds lately, not knowing much. Brendan, can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. So there was another exploit in the Pulse chain ecosystem this past week, mostly surrounding Compound and PWBTC. So for those of you who don't know what Compound is, it's actually a very old protocol. It's one of the original DeFi lending protocols in crypto. I think it came out in 2018 or 2019. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But essentially, you're able to deposit your crypto assets, like ETH, into their LPs. In return, you receive C tokens, so Compound tokens, which represent your share and automatically accrue interest over time. So it's sort of your first, one of the first lending protocols that allow you to gain interest on top of what you're able to pull out. So it is, it's a lot of things were kind of modeled after it, like Aave and Maker and others. Like this was the OG.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
one of the OGs. Yeah, it was one of the OGs. So when Pulse Chain launched, it was there, right? Because of all of anything on ETH sort of being brought over. And I have not looked super deep into this. I've only been on the edges. Been kind of a crazy week, working late every day. But essentially, people were exploiting the Compound and therefore also exploiting PWBTC. And so one of the Genesis wallets for Pulse Chain ended up selling almost all of their PWBTC. I don't know if they have any left. And they bought pretty much all PulseX and a little bit of Pulse. So that day that we saw PulseX jump like 6% and everything else was down 10%, it was because one of the Genesis wallets, most people are saying, one of the people that is tied to the OA, maybe Richard Hart himself, was selling PWBTC in exchange for PulseX. So the other issue is that, a lot of these P copies have been in liquidity pools, right, since the beginning of launch. And so that we know that when there's been issues with PDAI and when there's been exploits on PDAI, there's been a whole reduction of the ecosystem because people are minting PDAI for free and then selling it and then bridging out of the ecosystem. So this has happened with multiple P copies because, again, you have some issues with some of the original code that really isn't running on Pulse Chain. It's kind of just there. So if people can find a way to get into the actual original, I guess I won't call it the admin keys, but for all intents and purposes, able to mint coins without any money going in. And so this was starting. There were things like this starting to happen with PWBTC and some of the other P copies. And so there was a lot of liquidity pulled. PWBTC was sold by the OA, Genesis wallet, and exchanged for almost exclusively PulseX. And the buy and burn PulseX now, I think, is 9% of the supply is completely bought and burnt. And so, again, I have not looked into it, but shout out to Giga and shout out to CryptoSolve, two guys that have really been paying attention to this a lot. So if you want to go and read more up on it, I've read all of their in-depth posts, but I've been sort of paying attention enough to know what's going on. and both of them. I think Giga was the first one that I saw that had the exploit. And honestly, I feel like Giga for a while was like this. People were really talking a lot of shit about him, but the man talks truth a lot, and generally what he says is usually pretty honest. He's also has some other things that he's digging into now with people that are have been involved in the P-copy game. And he may or may not be going on a warpath against one of those people. And if you want, just go to his Twitter, go to his X, sorry, and read up onto it, because he has some serious information coming out right now. But if they hadn't, so they pulled liquidity on some of these pools, so it didn't allow the person that was exploiting Compound and PWBTC to be able to sell it and then bridge out. So they were at one point had $2 million that they essentially pulled for free through the minting function. But because they ended up pulling the liquidity, by the way, I think again, Giga was the one who said, hey, one of the ways that you can reduce the impact on the community is pulling liquidity for these pairs. And in the end, that happened. Whoever had liquidity on those pairs pulled them. And instead of being able to pull 2 million out of the ecosystem, I think they pulled like maybe a quarter of that. So still a lot, right? But it could have been a much worse week for the Pulse Chain ecosystem if people that were paying attention and maybe someone tied to the OA wasn't making moves.
For those of you curious, his name on Twitter is Giga the Minter. I was trying to find him, and I was like, "Where the hell is this guy?"
Yep.
Yep.
Interesting stuff. Well, I mean, it's not revolutionary news, I'd argue, because like we've had exploits, we've seen it before, even in Pulse Chain, especially with these P-copy tokens.
Yep.
But at the same time, though, seeing like real-time reaction to that and actually getting the message out and having liquidity pulled to, help not just suck value out of the ecosystem, I'd argue that's pretty dang good.
And the OA to sell PWBTC down, so that if someone was going to sell those tokens, take that, first of all, by selling it, they take the liquidity out, right? And then pull whatever remaining liquidity. So it's like a double
whammy.
Yep, exactly. So I really liked that there was a fast, because we've seen exploits and they've just happened, right? There was no one that was actually combating them in any way other than saying, hey, don't be stupid and pay attention to these P copies, which aren't going to be pegged to $1, hypothetically. Like we've heard Richard kind of dance that dance a few times on X, but this is the first time we saw actionable things happening that I think was strong. And honestly, I think it's positive for the ecosystem as long as Richard is super invested, which he's going to be, and we still have a super invested community and people that are paying attention daily, like Giga and CryptoSolve, and these people that are really trying to pay attention to exploits that are happening within the ecosystem, that really know that they understand development, they understand these protocols deeper than you, I, or Will do, and we know enough, but we're not developers, right? Giga's a developer and he knows code, so it's just he has a unique aspect to be able to see this before it happens. And shout out to him, great job. And shout out to whoever pulled the liquidity and sold the PWBTC coins, because and by the way, I went into my wallet. I was like, shoot, do I still have PWBTC? Nope. Sold that 4 months ago. Big profit. Thank God.
Nice. There we go.
I bought PWBTC when it was like early on. I bought like 5 of them, and it was like, I think I paid like $100 for 5 of them. And then they hit 2,000 at one point, and I had sold them far before they hit 2,000, but still made a lot of money.
Very nice.
I guess to turn the corner on the Pulse Chain talk, I think we are who was that earlier? Eddie? Yeah, Eddie CG or Eddie G saying Richard do something. I think that's definitely in reference to the Prove X sacrifice, which, as I understand it, I have not seen any news on an official launch date. So still in just that waiting cycle, just holding on, looking out for anything on the horizon. I mean, we know what's on the horizon. We just don't know when it's going to come yet. And look, we're coming up towards the end of January. I don't know if this is something that would be ghost launched. It might. That does seem somewhat like Richard's style, but at the same time, he's been pretty open about. I remember the Pulse Chain launch. He was pretty open about everything going on there, whether it was people well ahead of time, like when Pulse Chain. He's like, it's ready when it's ready, and then announcing the snapshot, and then ultimately being like, yep, we're going live. So ProveX, it's on the horizon. I still think March is a reasonable time frame, but also at the same time, beyond that, is still definitely in the range of probability as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the one thing that people are interested in because it's unique. It adds another decentralized protocol into the Pulse Chain ecosystem. And it allows it to really set itself up for success with or without centralized exchanges. Would I love to see Binance or others, Coinbase, list Pulse Chain, PulseX, Hex? Yeah, I'd love it. But if that never happens, we need to be able to be self-sovereign and self-sufficient. And that's literally what decentralized finance is trying to teach all of us. And so if we're going to succeed, and by the way, I see this like long-term game where if you are like a long-running L1 with real good safety protocols, run your own code, onboard directly without a centralized exchange, without a bridge, and you're able to, I don't know, tornado cash within the ecosystem. I think there's going to be huge interest in this type of L1 moving forward. And so you might be early, but early on protocols like this is where you want to be. And it might take longer than you want for it to succeed. But I just think that what's being built is really important for the future of monetary individuality and monetary being able to spend your money without knowing who you are. Because unfortunately, a lot of the big chains, that's not going to be the case, right? Like Bitcoin, everyone's going to know who's sending their Bitcoin where and when. And so you need protocols that allow you to use your money in a little bit more of an anonymous way.
There's pros and cons to both of those for sure. I think Bitcoin, ironically, is like leaning into that as a pro, being like Bitcoin is the digital gold. So you want to secure value. You know how you can help make other people believe that the value is secure if they can see it. So the fact that like we know where all the wallets are, we have a relatively good idea of whose wallet is whose, especially some of the big ones out there. So for something like Bitcoin, that makes sense, I guess, as a pro. But then when it comes to daily use stuff, like you could argue Pulse Chain's even in that category just because gas fees are so low and that kind of stuff, where it makes sense to actually use this kind of stuff for like small scale transactions and whatnot. But yeah, getting something in there to have a privacy layer, be able to actually operate similar to like how you would operate with normal currency and stuff makes total sense. And I know this part might be definitely opinion and maybe even a little bit of emotionality speaking here, but you mentioned that we're early. I think that one of the things that proved that we're very early is the fact that Bitcoin is really dominant this cycle, and it's the talk of the town. It's pretty much everything that people are focusing on outside of like stable coins. But then again, you're not really going to make money on stable coins outside of yielding, and that's even being a big fight right now. But Bitcoin has been taking the wind out of the sails of everything else effectively. Ethereum is a little bit keeping up with Bitcoin, but even then, Bitcoin is the dominant force. So when we see stuff like Pulse Chain and all the other ecosystems, like kind of the fact that we're early is that this stuff is going to happen, which is that people are looking elsewhere. Meanwhile, we're looking still not happy about the price action going on right now, but honestly, that might just be part of being early.
I like it. I think it's a good point, Z. Will, what do you think?
Am I coping, Will?
I think that everything is cope and everything is campfire stories. So like my opinion on that isn't really like terribly valuable. But hey, man, like if it makes sense to you and it makes you stronger, then believe it and do it. Because like what's the alternative? To not? To think of a shittier world or something else? You know? Like it pays to be calibrated, sure. But if you can have like what even is the word cope? I don't like that word. Because everything is cope and everything is campfire stories and everything is malleable. So like, I don't know. Maybe that's a cop out answer, but that's what I think.
Go ahead, Z.
No, go for it.
I was gonna change. I was gonna ask you one more question in regards to these P copies.
Mm-hmm.
Hit it.
So Giga had also said this week. He had said, I know this might not be the most agreed with opinion, but he thinks that Richard Hart should remove all non-stable core pairs from liquidity and sell the P copies. So essentially, he said Richard Hart already said P copy idea didn't work as intended, and I think it's time to move on. Selling all the P copies in the AE31 wallet, AOA, would prevent hundreds of thousands of dollars of potential theft to be removed. That on top of the already 8 million plus of WBTC and others would immensely support this eco minus the few silly believers. My purpose has always been to support the original vision, Hex, Pulse, X, Pulse, and Ink.
That's not a bad idea by my
There's-
reckoning.
There's two ways to dice this. One is actually having some sort of hand on the steering wheel, and that makes sense from that standpoint. Because to be honest with you, I think a lot of the P copies have been distracting and possibly even negative to the overall ecosystem. The other side of the coin, though, is that it's crypto, it's DeFi, it's freedom. You should be able to do what you want. Having this stuff was part of the fork. It was a copy of Ethereum. As part of that, you're going to have this stuff. And, well, like a lot of people say, if there's a token, people are going to trade it. They'll trade anything under the sun. And like having the ability to do that, I think is good from a very like fundamental standpoint. But when it comes to overall performance, which to be honest, I think that's what the vast majority of people in the ecosystem are hoping for the most part. Granted, everyone does. I believe if you're over here, you're a DeFi native. You have bought into the DeFi story and principles and stuff. And having the P tokens is helpful for the DeFi fundamentals. But to get back to it, personally, I do believe these are financial instruments and financial tools. And we're converting blood, sweat, and tears into these digital representations of that. As a result, we are trying to make the best decisions that we possibly can and investing into the future. Investing has a return, theoretically. Otherwise, it's called gambling or just spending money. And as a result of that, if you're in that standpoint, I think that, yeah, from where I'm sitting, I think the P copies have been largely a distraction or even a net negative, because the whole PDI narrative, it's an interesting idea. It's a possible meme coin. I think there have been plenty of other ones that have come out that can do even better because they have uncapped potential, or they're even just better meme coins over on Solana where meme coins go play. And as a result of that, there's been a lot of distraction, a lot of hostility, and just a lot of confusion, so that even people on the outside looking in are looking at it like, this is some weird stuff. Why would I want to get involved? Why would I want to put my blood, sweat, and tears in the digital form over there where all this nonsense is going on? So like, look, it kind of comes back to like, are you being pure in your ideology to a T? Sure. If you are, then yeah, P tokens are part of that narrative. But you can't really live that way, because otherwise you're not going to get anywhere, because everything is always the home run or nothing. You got to hit singles, you got to hit doubles, you got to push the ball up the field 1 yard at a time. As part of that, sometimes it might be good to have the hand on the steering wheel and be like, look, P tokens, might not be worth focusing on. Let's try to, sideline it a little bit. But
we sure as fuck don't have the home run. Like that's
yet.
That's not happened. So like, I don't know if I suppose there's many schools of thought. I wanted to bring up Moondog's point here. Richard's original version was the P copy parody, but he fucked it up with his greedy scraping in an attempt to control. Should let go of his scraped copies. There was enough theft with PulseX V1, which was deceptive in the beginning and rugged a lot of people. Zenith, the idea behind PDI is something better, can't come out because its value is from its unique positioning during Ethereum screenshot used for Pulse launch.
I hear you. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's quite as true as you're saying it, because there was a massive exploit, but theoretically, if it was the way that you're describing, which is that this is all the stuff from the snapshot, there will never be any more. That at that point, look, I'm all in. At that point, I love it, because that is like the perfect little like test tube laboratory for like what is pure market dynamics and psychology. I think that would be a perfect analysis of that if you could have that. Again, imperfect world, we had issues along the way, but something like that, I'm right there with you, which is like, you can't make something better come out. It's like, yep, this stuff is out there. There's not going to be any more, and let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with it. That
I will say, I understood Richard's position to begin with the P copies. Let's try to get other people from Ethereum, to come and try out the ecosystem and take their free coins, right? That makes complete sense. Makes total sense. The issue is everyone Ethereum and in most of crypto hated Richard, and therefore they didn't even want to give his protocols a chance. I also blame, people like CoinGecko that have been gatekeeping. I blame some of the centralized exchange is that like Uniswap, right, pulls Hex because they call it a scam, and then Richard wins in court, and it like nothing, right, just silence. However, I still think that, DeFi is do it yourself, right? So if he pulls liquidity from the P copies, that doesn't mean that other people can't create liquidity. It doesn't mean other people can't create what they want to believe in. It just means that he doesn't have to be the one creating the opportunity for people to suck value out of the main coins of the ecosystem. So I don't think that just pulling liquidity means that it's it's not DeFi anymore. People can still do what they want because, again, create your own liquidity, create your own protocols, create your own desires.
I think the argument about liquidity, though, is that is DeFi. The ability of the market to make its choices and move like that is DeFi to me. Like that's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Or that's what it should have the ability to do. Like that is the perfect execution, in my opinion.
Right, but what are P copies? Like, are they even real protocols? They're not. They're not even decentralized protocols here on Pulse Chain. They're not completed code. They don't have Vault. They don't have Maker. We don't have the actual things that make them work. They're just meme coins. Do you need liquidity for every meme coin from the OA address?
I would argue no.
I would argue no as well.
The core differentiator there, though, is do you need it from the OA address? And from that, I would say no. The OA address is there to perform a very specific role, which is to be the stabilizing force for the protocol that has a function. And if it's providing stability to things that have no function outside of speculability, that's not even a word, speculation, then it just seems like expanded scope for no reason.
Kills the host.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know.
Agreed.
All right, Richard, you heard it here on the DGen Roundtable. The three of us have decided, so get to it or something.
Yeah, that's not how that works. I believe the man has said many times he works for none of us.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what he said publicly. In the private, you guys haven't seen our Telegram leadership chat where we hit
our private DMs where Richard's in there.
Yeah, we're like, hey Ricky, we're gonna be covering gold hitting 5,000 today. So don't you go selling any gold now, or else you're gonna ruin our show. Make sure you act well, good young man. There was one other point that Moondog had that I wanted to bring up. Got to be funny if Richard Hart pairs ProofX with pulse wrapped Bitcoin liquidity. Someone with the MasterChef keys loved pulse wrapped Bitcoin enough to make it an early farm. And then it got exploited via the incentive, the bridge, and the eHex, and the most Pulsicans. Don't know though. So, that's true. It was a farm in the beginning.
Well, so was Hex eHex.
Oh yeah.
By the way, Hex eHex was a great farm to begin with. It made a lot.
It was a great.
It
was a great farm in the beginning. Yes. So it's like we're gonna throw spaghetti at
By the way, Pepe had a farm in the beginning. Okay.
Yeah. I remember.
People forget that too.
Mm-hmm.
He was just choosing, coins that he thought might be popular. BTC has had this. Maybe it gets to the Bitcoin price. I think Richard is partially at fault for the PDI and other things, because he did say at least once, like, hey, who knows? Maybe these can hit parity. And I think that actually hurt the ecosystem a lot more than it's helped it, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of talking in the past, though. So
yeah, agreed. That was a long time ago, over 2 years ago now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the old days.
Back when we were on stream, right when this shit launched.
Oh, man. By the way, shout out to Tam Tam, who has joined us. Welcome, Tam Tam. Good to see you. I think that we don't have any other new person, but we've been going through these chats for quite a while. Do we want to do a hard transition into one of the news stories that you meant to cover today, Zenith, that we have yet
Yes,
to get into
sir.
1 hour in?
Yes. Sorry, I took this for a turn. Did not
No,
mean to.
It was a great,
Hey,
great
no,
conversation.
great news story.
I like it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, I learned something this week. I don't know why, but for the longest time, I always thought Davos was a conference held in Greece. Today, I learned it's actually held in Switzerland, which is why the thumbnail has, all the boys at a ski resort, effectively. But anyways, that being said, Davos Summit has happened, the World Economic Forum, effectively. Normally, this is the part where we usually come up in here and put on the tinfoil hats and start thinking about all the ways they're trying to screw crypto. But there was actually a bit of a shift this year. Crypto is actually a bit of a feature going on. And as you're going to see from the video, we got your boy CZ. He's got the prison body. He's looking a little bit jacked. Well, more jacked than he was anyways. But yeah, CZ's up on stage talking with the folks, and we have a handful of people that we're talking crypto at Davos. So we're going to be going through a handful of clips here, talking about what's going on, what they were talking about, and what it means for all of us. So with that being said,
right now in the crypto space, there's
Mr. CZ.
There's really two proven industries: the exchanges and stable coins. Those are large businesses.
I'm sorry. Oh, nope. He just talks fast. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about three new more. I think tokenization is a huge one. I'm talking with probably a dozen governments about tokenizing some of their assets, because this way the government can actually realize the financial gains first and use that to develop those industries, extractions, the trading markets, etc. Payments is something that we've tried, have not really conquered have not really started in crypto. We tried, but nobody really pays in crypto. But I think now we're seeing the convergence of traditional payment methods being behind the scenes, being supported by crypto. So the spenders swipe a card, crypto gets deducted from their account. The merchants gets US dollars or euros or whatever they get. So now when we have those bridges, I think payments is going to become pretty big. The third one is what you guys all mentioned is AI. The native currency for AI agent is going to be crypto. They're not going to use bank cards. They're not going to swipe credit cards. They're going to crypto blockchain is the most native technology interface for AI agents. So when AI goes big, today AI they're not really agents. They don't buy tickets for you. They don't pay for restaurants for you. But when they actually do, those payments will be in crypto.
All right. Bit to unpack there. We got what has been going on according to CZ and what he's looking forward to. CZ came out outright and said it there. The two things that have been successful in crypto so far, exchanges and stablecoins. Gentlemen, does that make sense, or do you have any bones to pick with that one?
I mean,
well, Bitcoin.
That I would argue that's a big one as well. Yeah.
Ethereum.
To a degree, yes.
Like I agree with what he's saying. Just in general, stable coins have almost all succeeded, and exchanges have almost all succeeded, outside of a few that have died. We all know those, FTX and a few others, Voyager. But but overall, I think his point is well taken. They're strong. I think exchanges succeed because they gatekeep and they decide what is good and what is bad, and they hold your money. They're a bank. Centralized exchanges are just banks. That's all they are.
Mm-hmm.
When banks hold the money,
hold on to that thought, because I have another clip for that exact thought later on. But I hear exactly what you're saying, and I think you have a very good point. I would argue, hear me out, I'm going to take the other side of the coin on this one. I think exchanges have succeeded because they have offered something to the marketplace. They have offered a marketplace itself. I think that without the exchanges, crypto would not be nearly as large as it is, because at that point we'd still be having to go find somebody who has a Bitcoin miner, and we pay the guy $20 for some Bitcoin, or we have to figure out how to do the mining stuff ourselves. But at the same time, I don't want to negate anything you just said, which is that, have they been gatekeeping? Yes. Have they been manipulating the markets? Yes. Have they been somewhat picking winners and losers? Also, yeah. But I think that CZ with the clip is kind of onto something here. And I want to say we covered this a few weeks ago, which is that one of the big winners of 2025 was stablecoin-backed credit cards and debit cards. They had a rise of about 400% over 2025, and that was even on top of the rise that they had the year before that. So in the world that we're at right now, like, shoot, we even talked about it to open up stream a little bit. It's like the market's kind of crap, even though there's a lot of crypto news and workings happening right now. but a lot of it has been around stable coins and Bitcoin reserves. That's pretty much been it for the last year.
I think Luna has a good point. CZ has to push a narrative. Awfully convenient that a guy who runs an exchange and is focused very heavily on stablecoins within his exchange and on his blockchain and has been working with a lot of, so like the things that he does is saying that, yeah, this is the only thing that's found success within the crypto. It's like, you know, if I sell pizzas, I'm like, yeah, the only thing that really makes money in the food world is the pizza industry. You know, it's like, yes.
Look, that is a very fair critique, which is like, does the guy have an incentive? Very clearly, yes. He is now the former operator of Binance.
Yeah.
You know, kind of got barred from that whole thing when he went to jail and that. But he has been replaced. Would I be surprised if he's not still heavily involved with the inner workings as like an advisor or just like the homie they talk to? Yeah, I bet that stuff's still probably going on. But here's the second half of the clip. We got tokenization, payments, which he believes are been largely a failure so far, and then AI agent integration. That's what he's looking at as like the next steps for crypto. Does that make sense to you guys? Or again, do you think this might just be his own personal incentive coming out here?
Oh, I mean, look. Oh, go ahead. You go first. Well,
I was just gonna say I can't look past the personal incentive thing, or at least it hasn't clicked in yet. Like, you know, I'm sure it's possible, but I'm kind of committed to that get far story at this point. What do you think, Brendan?
I think, by the way, I have a lot of respect for CZ. So, you know,
he's a pioneer. Hands down, he's been pioneering the space.
Exactly. Take it for what it is, but yeah, he, even though he's not running Binance or an initial founder of Binance, he's still fully invested in Binance. Let's not perceive that he's not still involved, right? He's still working behind the scenes. He's still involved, and he just doesn't have a title. Now, CZ, interestingly enough, has been trying to push this meme coin that he's been buying for a while. How's that been for him? Not good. He's like, I just buy and hold. I just bought some more. But it's kind of interesting because I don't know. I agree with what he's saying, but I don't think that the whole AI push and other things is actually necessarily going to be good for crypto. Our centralized exchange is good for crypto. Is it changing what crypto is really meant to be? A peer-to-peer opportunity to exchange goods and services, and no centralized authority or government able to change or adjust what you're trying to do. So centralized exchanges actually take away from the ethos of what crypto is actually supposed to be from a decentralized standpoint. And so I agree that he's pushing a narrative. I agree that he has his own interest at hand. I don't disagree with what he's saying, by the way. And they have some benefits for adoption with centralized exchanges and stable coins. But it is good. Is it good for the ecosystem? Is it good for the long-term ethos of what we want from a peer-to-peer? No middleman being able to, adjust what I'm saying. No risk. I mean, I actually think all of these things are adding more risk to what decentralized finance was meant to be, what Bitcoin was founded on. So I'm kind of taking a middle ground. I'm kind of not taking a point one way or another, but I'm just like, I'm always a little incredulous when people like CZ talk about things that are their bags. By the way, Pulse Chain ecosystem. Do you see CZ funding his bags? No. Take notes.
Take notes. Look, all good points, sir. By the way, I think tokenization is one of the narratives that CZ has been pushing for a good bit now. He had a fantastic presentation for the it was one of the crypto summits that was in Dubai probably about like 4 or 5 months ago. He was talking about different ways that tokenization can work, and it's all very creative and new things. Excellent presentation. It's like 40 minutes long. You don't even have to watch all of it, but it's really good. So I think CZ is one of the people that really has a forward-looking vision for what tokenization can be or could be in all the different ways that people haven't even thought of yet. So that makes sense to me. The payments point is interesting because payments as it stands from peer-to-peer payments, I think he's saying that, like, look, we've been trying it, but there's a little just too much friction in the system when it comes to trying to do that stuff. Because, like, you're double checking addresses, you got to pay gas fees, doing test transactions and all that stuff, which if you're doing that, that's how to be safe. But at the same time, it's increased friction points when instead you just hand somebody a $20 bill. And it's like, all right. The AI narrative, I think he has a good point here, but I'm right there with you, Brendan, which is that, do I think AI is good for crypto? Not particularly. Do I think that crypto is an effective way for AI to actually do the things that people have been wanting it to do? I would say largely yes. And that's where I'm in agreement with CZ on this one, which is that the AI agents have been largely non-transactional, meaning that you can look up information on it, you can make videos on it, you can do a lot of stuff with it. But can it do the things for you and interact with the real world in a way where you can actually pay for stuff? Like, I don't know, buy movie tickets or pay for dinner and stuff like that? The answer is no. Or even like do trading platform stuff. There are people that have been able to do it. I think that crypto integration is probably going to be a better solution for that. Am I an AI fan? Not happy with how it's been going lately. Do I like the concept of the technology? Yeah, but to me, the AI question is still kind of out there. We got to see what it's going to be used for. Personally, call me a bit of a black pill doomer here, but with the ongoing enshittification of all technology-based products, I don't have a whole lot of hope.
I'm of the opinion, I'm right there with you in the enshittification of technology products, and like, you know, everything's turning into the subscription model. And I think that, like, my hope is that we will find ourselves return to the earth, you know, back to farming, back to working with hands, back to going and having like community meetups and things like that, rejecting modernity, embracing tradition, sort of thing. That's my dream, you know. And we've talked about this a couple times in the DGen Roundtable. It'd be great to build like literal little community centers, and I think that's kind of what the goal of Hexico was. But the problem is I think just a lot of folks on the internet are focused on the how can I gamble my way into riches, and like then I just win at life and I don't have to do anything anymore. One of the things that Richard said a long time ago is that like the best way to make money was to start a business. And like, what is starting a business? Starting a business is solving problems for people that are important enough for them to pay you money for it. And like, what was the next best way? Is doing the cryptocurrency stuff. Like that makes more money a while ago than starting a business. I think that personally, like starting a business now, legitimately going and solving people's problems would make more money than, you know, gambling on the unit of metric that we use to store the value that we get as a result of trading and exchanging valuable things with other people. You know, so like after a certain point, speculation only takes an individual so far, because it's just, you're just changing the metric by which you measure the value that's generated by someone's work of manipulating materials at or near the Earth's surface. So it's like, that's where the real, like the dollars, the euros, the bitcoins, the whatever, you know, they just measure the fact that somebody somewhere moved something or made something or created something and like passed it on to someone else. You know, the units of measurement is the thing that, like, I see us all sort of kind of here on this podcast talking about, and like on most crypto podcasts and finance things, and like, you know, there's a really big world of that, but like the real value, the real thing is like, you know, did you pull someone's teeth out and clean them? Did you build a farm? Like, is there food growing where there didn't used to be food growing? Has a baby been birthed into the world? Right. That's where the actual stuff is, in the rubber meeting the road, and everything else is just units of measurement that's tied back to those things. So without those things, eventually, like the world being diluted and full of these units of measurement, like where does it go? Like what is the point of it all? So like, I don't know. I'm kind of soapboxing now, but I forget what the original point was, but it was just a thought that I had.
I would just say with AI, Zenith, as you say, with great power comes great responsibility. One of the greatest lines in comic book history from Spider-Man, and I think it can't be more poignant when we're talking about AI. We don't know what it's going to be. We don't know who's going to control it. We don't know if it's going to be used for good or bad. There's a lot of great power there. There's a lot of great usability, a lot of growth from a standpoint of industry, but there's a lot of worry in how it's used and how it decides what is truth. Like we've seen so much in the past 5-10 years, like media decides what people consider truth, and AI is only going to make that even more of an issue. Like, okay, what are you pulling from fact checkers, and what are you pulling from articles that may not be true in themselves? And so AI is only as good as the data that it's pulling from. And right now, the data that it's pulling from is incomplete and a little challenging.
True. Alrighty, good points, gentlemen. I don't want to cut it off, but I got a few more clips I want to get to. We got one more CZ, so let's see what the man has to say yet again.
I do believe that this technology is a game changer for sure, and I think we've proven over the last 15, 16 years that it's not going away. Binance is one of the largest crypto exchanges in the world.
It is the largest.
It is by far the largest. It's larger than the next 5 combined. But just some numbers, right? You have 300 million users. It's probably larger than any bank that I know. And its trading volume is higher than the Shanghai Stock Exchange. It's higher than New York Stock Exchange last year.
All right. So this one, point being, Binance isn't just a crypto exchange anymore. It operates at a scale comparable to major global financial institutions. When volume rivals traditional markets and users span the globe, crypto stops being an experiment and starts becoming infrastructure. This is what crypto at scale looks like. So do you guys think we're at the point where we're transitioning to infrastructure, or is this still kind of just the DeFi experiment?
Well, I think that what he's saying is that Binance is so large that they can manipulate the market by accidentally changing the price of a coin for an instant that wipes out all shorts and all longs. And it doesn't matter because no one has enough capital to be able to buy or sell to make it hurt them. And that's an issue. So no, that's not DeFi anymore. They're too big, and they're able to manipulate the market in a way that isn't healthy, and in my opinion, isn't right. And because we don't have regulations with centralized exchanges isn't crypto, right? Like that's just someone, again, a bank holding your money. So there needs to be regulations on these players. And if they can manipulate the market to that extent, as they did on, what was it, October 9th or October 10th or whatever it was, that's a serious problem, serious problem. And so, no, I disagree 100% with CZ here. And I think that what he's saying is we can do what we want because we're so large. And he just said it without so many words.
Yep. It's like, you can't get me now. We're the size of a bank. Maybe.
Look, I think you are correct. I think that maybe a more optimistic look at this is that crypto is getting to the scale where it is starting to move towards that infrastructure level, and it has the ability to. And this ties in with some of the other stories that we've been covering this year and late last year, which is, I remember we had some clips talking about Donald Trump talking about crypto becoming part of the overall economic infrastructure. We had clips from Scott Bessent talking about how markets are going to be going on blockchain soon. So look, as the guy that runs the largest exchange in the world, is he kind of putting it out there like, look, I am the big boy now, I am the whale? Yeah, for sure. But at the same time, I think that it's the rising tide that rises all ships, and that if crypto can achieve that level, CZ is still going to be at the top of the pile, but the pile is going to be a lot larger, and it's going to be a lot more comparable to the current financial institutions and the overall infrastructure. And to me, I don't see that as a bad thing, because ultimately, if the goal is DeFi, then you could argue that integration with the normal infrastructure is not what you're looking for. You're looking to build an alternative. But I would argue that integrating crypto into the existing structures will put pressure on the existing structures to fix themselves and improve. So at worst, you get better money. At best, you get DeFi in the truest form that just fully takes over. I don't know, bit of a different take than my black pill take on the last one. That was a very white pill. How about that? Brendan, you are muted, good sir.
You're muted.
I'm surprised, Zenith. I'm usually the optimist, and here I'm being the pessimist.
Hey, we trade roles every once in a while. Got to keep it fresh.
Alrighty. Yeah, I'm a little down on Binance and CZ. Like they showed their cards on October 9th, 10th. Like, I'm sorry, you can't change my opinion right now.
That's fair. And that's something worth remembering as well. I really hope that event does not get memory hold, because I truly think that was a big transformational event. And it really woke up a lot of people that were probably the newcomers this cycle to be like, oh, Bitcoin's the greatest thing ever. It's like, wait, what the heck just happened? Yeah. If you've been here a while, you know that stuff can happen. If it's your first time, welcome to the show.
That was quite the move. I will say also, he's been doing quite the moves, CZ, posting his like planking workout videos and stuff, unlike Ricky posting words about, oh, hey, I went and deadlifted some stuff today. Our boy Chengpeng Zhao going out there and actually like doing one of those things where like you rest only on the elbows and like the rest of his body was up in the air. It's like the fucking
not the flagpole, but the
flagpole on the ground. But
yeah,
it's just like super fucking whoa! Look at that guy's core strength. Anyways, we've got more clips to share, don't we, Zenith? I see you've got.
Alrighty, Brendan. You remember when you had the point about the banks? This is for you, sir. Mm-hmm. Alrighty, coming to us from CEO Brian Armstrong at Davos, talking about how banks lend without your permission, and that's the real scam. All right, here we go.
And that's what the whole banking. That's why there's. Well, the banks are doing something very different, which is called, fractional reserve lending. So they're actually lending out customer deposits without their permission, essentially, right, to, earn the spread. And that's what the whole banking. That's why there's such heavy oversight from banking regulation.
What's different in what you're planning on doing with your customers' assets?
So under Genius, stablecoin issuers have to hold 100% reserve. It's not fractional reserve. 100% of the assets are in short-term U.S. Treasuries. It's very low risk. It's less risky.
All right, a little cut off at the end there, but the point is still made. Banks do fractional reserve banking with your money in the bank, meaning that the money that you have in the bank is not actually in the bank. But due to the structure we have from the Genius Act, because keep in mind, he's the CEO of Coinbase inside of the US there, he's saying that as it works, if your money's with us, your money is with us. Granted, it might be in other investment vehicles, such as government bonds and other annuities and stuff. But the point remains is that, look, he's saying fractional reserve banking is for the banks. We are currently under another structure. Which one do you feel better with?
I mean, what's the difference? The government essentially runs the banks because they allow fractional banking, and therefore they're responsible for X amount of money of every person's investment into the bank. And in crypto, they're not responsible, so they have one-to-one. Of stable coins, right? Of stable coins. So we're not talking about every type of asset that they hold needs to be held at 100%, nor does it need to be held in dollar and assets. So I think it's a little bit different, but I don't think it changes the position that they're essentially a bank, right? Like he's just trying to say, okay, because we're not fractional reserve, we're not real banks. No, you're still a bank and you still manipulate the market. By the way, Coinbase does as well, like everybody else. And therefore, I think that you are pretty much in the same playing field as banks, just in a new asset class. And therefore, things are a little bit differently. So I agree with him that, yes, is it different on how they have to hold funds? And is that better or worse? I don't know. It's just the government doesn't FDIC insure crypto, but they do banks. So what's safer? I don't know. I really don't see personally a big difference. Zia, someone comes from TradFi. Yes, I understand the difference, but I don't personally see a big difference between how centralized exchanges work and banks work, because again, they're both manipulating markets.
And I have a point, and I've brought this up a few times on the DGen Roundtable show. The Federal Reserve lending, or the
minimum reserve requirements from the Federal Reserve.
The minimum reserve requirement is 0%. It is not required to have any money in the bank in order to lend out, and that's as of 2020. So like right in the middle of COVID, like you can lend out an infinite amount of money and keep nothing in the bank. So like the banks don't even have your fucking money. Like they're just fucking sending it all out. It used to be like, you give them $100, so that means that they can go and lend out 1,000. right? Because they have a 1% reserve or a 10% reserve, excuse me. And then it was like, let's chop that down to 5%, you know, and then they're like, let's chop it down to 2%. And then COVID comes along and they're like, let's chop it down to 0%. Fuck it. Lend out a billion, trillion dollars. There's an infinite amount of money at the Federal Reserve. Like the
famous clip. Yes.
Yeah. The point that Brian is making is like regarding reserve requirements, totally irrelevant, completely irrelevant. Like makes no fucking difference.
He's just moving the needle, right? 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I think there's two ways to look at this. One of the ways to look at it is that Brian Armstrong is advocating that crypto exchanges should be like the banks and should be able to have fractional reserve ratios. I don't quite think that's the point personally. I think the point that he's trying to make is that the way crypto is working currently, from all the complaints that people have about the Federal Reserve, is it's working in a more stable way than that. Because a lot of the issues that people have with the Federal Reserve System is that it's money creation through pretty much lending, or effectively only lending, or just imaginary numbers, as some people kind of might point out. We've talked about the Federal Reserve a good bit on here, and we've covered it a good bit on Book Club as well. Our famous Johnny Chaos stream, where he came on and gave us the lecture about how having fractional reserve banking inside of crypto might be a bit of a poison pill. So I can see this going both ways, which is like, are these people vying for control? Yes, there's always struggle for power at the highest levels, and this is the highest level for sure. But at the same time, one of the largest complaints about the Federal Reserve System has been fractional reserve lending. This appears to, at the moment, at least be trying to create an alternative system that is not doing that. So I think that there are some merits to give there. As it stands now, doesn't mean it's going to be that way in the future, but as it works right now, it looks like a possible solution to that thing if the fractional reserve lending is your complaint.
It's a complaint. It's not my only complaint, right? There's a lot more issues, I think, with banks than fractional or zero reserve banking. The dollar isn't stabilized because of that. So if crypto is still priced in dollars, is that any different? It's still outside of stable coins, right? It's still potentially causing inflation unless it's outperforming the inflation of the dollar. Right now, most crypto assets are not outperforming the inflation of a dollar, so it is not doing what we would have hoped that it would be doing. Bitcoin has been still outpacing inflation of the dollar. I mean, someone that went to school for economics and finance, I've never really been a fan of the fractional reserve banking. It just leads to inflation. But again, if your GDP can grow faster than your inflation, then does it really matter? Right now, our GDP in the United States is what, 4.4? Like I saw something that could be 5 point something in Q4. That would be unreal. Like if we saw like that came out like 5 something for GDP, like what the heck are we? Well, it's insane. So I'm just saying there's a lot of nuance that goes into what we're talking about, and we really don't have enough time to chop it up into the details that we need to, because I think it's a lot more nuanced and a lot more than just fractional banking, just, exchanges. There's just so much more involved when it comes to how the Fed works. And, obviously we talk about the Fed a lot, but our system is built on such a unique, I don't even know what to call it these days, but the way our money is created in the United States and how our monetary policy is ran is very unique. And we'll see how long that it can hold up the way that it has. But again, I will continue to go back to the point that as long as the United States military is the number one military in the world, the value of the dollar is not a worry.
All great points there, especially the thing backing the US dollar currently is the ability of the US to project force globally at any moment effectively. But your larger point of like, is this one factor in the overall massive system? Yeah, absolutely. It is a very complex house of cards. The reason it's not as simple as a 1 point fix is that, yeah, it's very complex, and this is the most complex system that we've probably seen in the history of mankind. But anyways, I got 2 more clips for you, somewhat dueling and related to the Clarity Act, which allegedly some draft versions have been leaked to the public, but coming to us from Eric Trump himself, he's talking about the banks as well. So let's see what he has to say.
Banks have been,
The big banks have been an absolute monopoly over our financial system for
Can you turn it up a little bit?
1,000 times.
That is as high as she's going.
Okay, all good.
And oh no, sorry, bear with me.
You know, why can't you send a wire transfer past 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon? You know why? Because the big banks would love to take, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars and have it sit there and clip interest off of it over the course of a long weekend, you know, as opposed to letting you just efficiently move that money using modern day technology, you know, and have it in a separate wallet 2 seconds later. They want to be able to use their money, be able to arbitrage your money. And so, you know, the big banks are doing everything they can to stop some of the crypto legislation for obvious reasons. Why?
All right, there you go from Eric Trump. Part of the reason why he thinks the banks are opposing crypto legislation is that they would like to still be able to, you know, use their systems and arbitrage your money. Again, it goes back to kind of what we were talking there with the whole fractional reserve stuff, which is that the way the system is set up right now is that your money in the bank is not your money in the bank. Luna, where'd your comment go? Anyways, I'll try to find it. But yeah, it's the fight that we've been seeing, and one of the things that's interesting for me about the Davos forum going on is that we've seen the shift, which is that large players who are usually in bed with the bankers are now speaking rather highly of crypto. And I don't know how that makes the bankers feel, because as Eric Trump says, they have quite the monopoly going on. And I don't know, do you gentlemen see that change into the future, or are they going to hold on to that as long as they possibly can?
They're going to try. I would as well. Every monopoly tries to hold on for as long as they can. But again, I'm sorry, I just don't see a big difference from the big bank and centralized exchanges. Do I want to see the change? Yes. Do I think crypto's still better with centralized exchanges over banks? Yes. Have I been a little bit negative? Yes, but I'm being honest at the same time. Like, if Binance can manipulate the market to such a degree, do you think a bank can manipulate the market to the amount that that Binance did in 2000 in October 9th? No, they can't. And so right now, maybe centralized exchanges have more power than banks with your money. And that would be a large conversation that we need to dive deeper into and maybe do a little bit more research on. But if someone can instantly affect that much money in a short period of time and not get in trouble for it, it's a little scary.
Oopsie daisy.
True. Well,
sorry.
Tell you what, that actually leads perfectly into this last clip. And I thought this might be a bit of a white pill, but depending if you're taking Brendan's argument there to its conclusion, this might actually be some nightmarish fuel. So, coming to us from the crypto czar, David Sachs in Davos. Let's see what he has to say.
A good compromise is everyone leaves a little bit unhappy, right? But I think what's going to happen is that after market structure passes, the banks are going to get fully into the crypto industry. So we're not going to have a separate banking industry and crypto industry. It's going to be one digital assets industry. And I think
will they be regulated
their opinions are going to evolve over time. And I bet you over time, the banks like the idea of paying yield because they're going to be in the stablecoin business.
But will they also be regulated the same way? And I guess that's a big, I mean, the banks will say, hey, if they get to do all the same things we do, how come they don't get regulated the same way?
Well, I guess because they're offering slightly different products, right? Yeah. So, but I mean, everyone offering the same product should be regulated in the same way. And we want to get to that harmonization.
What if the banks go full crypto and are like, you want to pay yield? Fine. We're also going to pay yield. Going full hog, getting into crypto, just like the exchanges.
That's a lot of money.
Then they have the power again. What's the difference?
There you go.
I think it's a fair point. I mean, was it Jamie Dimon saying at Davos that he wanted to see everything put on one blockchain? Did you see that clip? I think it was Jamie Dimon. It might have been somebody else, one of the heads of the bank system, saying that he wants all of like transactions and things to choose one blockchain. So it's like, hey, we need everything to be on one chain so that we can all transact and all be fast and all this stuff. Imagine that was Ethereum or Pulse chain. But yeah, I think that some people in the banking sphere are seeing the necessity for change. And is it a little worrisome? I mean, sure, but if we're in true decentralized finance, which is why I think crypto has a very, very, very Pulse chain and certain parts of crypto have a very, very, very important role to play in the future. Man, you're going to find those protocols that are not going to be able to be run by banks or centralized exchanges or governments. And there's very few of those right now. Very, very, very few of those. In fact, there's almost none.
Yeah, that's true. I think that David Sachs here has a decent point, which is that the banks and crypto exchanges offer something that is fundamentally different. One of them is banking services. The other is actual like crypto. The difference being one is US dollars, one is crypto. So he sees them as different. The question is, for me, is do people see them as different, and do people that are making regulations for this stuff see them as different? And again, a lot of this is hinging on the fact that he is assuming that the Clarity Act or the Market Structure Act is going to pass, which would theoretically, as it was first drafted up, allow central exchanges to offer yield on stablecoins, very similarly to banks. So is it possible that the banks use crypto, or is it possible that the banks reject crypto? I think that both cases are actually being made today as we speak, which is like we see the people at Davos that have come out and they're like, yeah, crypto could solve some stuff. Stablecoins are working out. Exchanges are doing well. Why not be in both of those? And then at the same time, we do have the active fight going on with the Clarity Act, where banks have actually come out in the open and released documents saying that, no, we don't want these people to be able to offer yield, because at that point, it would be a threat to our system and pull liquidity from us to them, causing a major crisis.
I think it's a good point. I think it's a good point. Yeah, it's a tough one. I think that it's inevitable for banks to be able to, at some point, to go full blown crypto or full blown blockchain technology. They're already getting eaten up, and they're already seeing the writing on the wall. So it's like either you adapt and you change, or you die like every other industry. So are they too big to fully die? Yeah, probably. But will they lose their grip on like the world, like the American and world finance? Possibly. Yeah, very possibly. So I do think that they need to adapt. And I think the ones that are already making a big move towards that, Fidelity, right? They already have their own crypto. You can, hold crypto on their exchange. You can transfer it off. You can transfer it on. You can buy, you can sell, you can keep it in your IRAs. They've been one that's really embraced it, as obviously others have. But then we see others that have only started to embrace it because they're falling behind. And I think we're going to see banks continue to fall behind if they don't start to embrace it more completely. I think there's a blessing and a curse, but I also think that's why, again, you have to find there's going to be protocols that are going to be outside of like bank and government control, and those ones are going to be super important at some point, right? Like I'm talking a little dystopian here in a way, but I'm not talking like right now or 5 years. But I do think at some point that is going to be super important, because I'm already starting to see dystopian things happen with how, by the way, the United States might be passing a bill that allows them to shut off your car if they don't like what you're doing at some point in the near future. So, by the way, any cars made after 2026, if this bill goes through, which it looks like it might, it has to have a kill switch in your car. That's not okay. That is dystopian, in my opinion. And so if we're going to continue to move into this direction where we give government like control over a lot of our things, or we don't give them, they just take control over our freedoms, then yes, it's going to be more and more important. So I hate to keep harping on that, but it's going to happen at some point. We see what's happening in Europe. We see what's happening in the UK. Freedoms are being removed, and the true crypto and true decentralized finance is going to provide freedom, and that's going to be important.
I think that point cannot be overstated enough, which is like, yeah, the trend that we've been seeing in the world has largely been going towards control on a lot of things. But at the same time, we've seen a handful of initiatives that are trying to give control back to users or people, and crypto is definitely one of them. So I hope the point is not lost on the audience. And it's one of the reasons why I think that we have especially been harping on the CBDC narrative, saying that it is the thing that can potentially it is the 0 to 1 moment. It is the moment of money is no longer the $20 bill that you can hand to someone for a good or service. It is the thing that can be shut off by the powers that be, because whether they like you, they like the stuff you're buying, they like the people you're interacting with, any of those reasons. So yeah, like some people might argue we've been living in dystopia for about a decade now. I can understand the argument. And at the current trajectory, it's like, I don't know if it's going to get better anytime soon in the next 5 years.
For 10 years, it was a little bit more under the radar, right? It was kind of being pulled from us for so long because everything was all the media was controlled by one source.
Oh yeah.
And so it's much easier to just pretend like it's not happening. And that's just not the case anymore. Like everyone's seeing it. Well, people that want to see it are seeing it, and we'll see what happens moving forward, but it's not going to change. Control's always been in the hands of the few, in the hands of the powerful. They don't want to give that up. And it's interesting that some people are even still fighting for people like us.
I had seen a great meme earlier, Brendan, on the subject of fighting, whereas like, violence is not the answer, guys. Come on. Opens history book, flips through pages. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. And it's just like, yeah, the government is going to take the four things that make you a sovereign individual, right? Your ability to speak. They've already hampered it for most people. Your ability to transact, here goes your ability to spend and exchange money. Once cash, like physical cash in hand is gone, like even cash in hand, the promissory note itself, it's a representation of something else that like they totally just print into like we've gone from coin clipping to now just printing more money. It's the same fucking thing. It's the same fucking thing, right? So you create more units out of the same number of stuff. And so anyways, back to my point, right? You've got your ability to speak, your ability to transact, your ability to move, and your ability to defend yourself. So if they start shutting off your car and you can't fucking travel anywhere anymore, then congratulations. Now you're a slave to the piece of dirt that you're stuck on. It's much easier for them to, just set up a couple little roadblocks here and there, or put some cameras on the interstate. Shout out to those of you guys who are on the interstate as much as me. And you see the camera towers everywhere. Like these little 40-foot tall roan towers with cameras on them. And right now they might be traffic cameras. They might be owned by your local news station, but who's to say, in 3 years, your local news station goes out of business because nobody buys fucking newspapers anymore. Nobody watches TV. And so they're like, fuck, what do we do with all this camera infrastructure? Well, I guess we'll sell it to whoever's the highest bidder. Maybe they're Palantir, maybe it's daddy government, maybe it's a combination of the two. And then now it's like, there's massive tracking protocols that are keeping track of wherever you are, just like they do in China, affecting your social credit score, affecting your ability to spend money, affecting your ability to move, and taking your guns away. So like you lose those four things, your ability to defend yourself, your ability to speak, your ability to spend, and your ability to move, speak, spend, defend, right? Once that's gone, then you're a nice little slave puppet. So just be careful, watch out for all this stuff, and definitely don't buy a car after 2026. Sorry, those of you in the audience who have cars post 2026, but I'm keeping my Chevy Silverado 2002 with real tornadoes under the hood as long as I can.
So. Yeah, it's okay. All the cool cars were made before 2026 anyways.
All the cool cars were made before 2008 when something very particular happened with the automobile manufacturing companies. That's a whole other discussion.
Arguably, yes. Anyways, All right. My final notes for the Davos wrap up here is that things that are bullish. Bitcoin has largely been talked about as a macro neutral reserve asset. Talking about having it as a reserve for companies, governments, all that kind of stuff. It seems like we've really turned the corner for sure on this one. And Bitcoin is definitely in the picture for these people as something to be paying attention to as a reserve asset. Stablecoins, very similar talk as well. Not quite nearly as far along the road as Bitcoin is, but a lot of discussion about how stablecoin can be used for projects, but it can also be used for global settlements as well. And then lastly, on top of the stablecoin talk, where do the stablecoins live? They live on Ethereum. And that's also where things are going to be tokenized as well. So really, Bitcoin, big winner out of this one. Ethereum, also decently big winner out of the Davos narrative.
If they choose one big chain, like even if they don't choose one chain, what chain are they going to use the most? Right now, there's only Ethereum. It only is the only one that has the infrastructure.
Yeah. It is the infrastructure for the most normal people. we've talked in the past, like banks and stuff are looking at using their own like personal private chains and like
Correct.
Avalanche and stuff like that.
As Moondog said, each bank might want their own chain. They can control it.
Honestly, like one of the biggest, I guess, pros or pieces of proof for that kind of narrative is the streaming services. Because remember, we started having like Netflix come out and we're like, oh, wow, we can watch everything on one spot. And then everyone else is like, nope, we're going to have our own platform for our own stuff. And now we're in the age where there's tons of different streaming services. And sometimes shows are even split between them. So if you think that can happen with your streaming service, why not the banks?
Yep. Same thing. Now you're paying the same price for TV as you were, except it's a combination of, Tubi and Netflix and Prime and Hulu and Apple and whatever.
Yeah. Alrighty. So we covered the winners. Here are some of the losers to neutral. A lot of talk about the Clarity Act going on, not necessarily from the people at Davos, but from a lot of the US folks surrounding Davos. Clarity Act is still in progress. Big debate going on over that. You should be looking at maybe this week something coming up for if we're actually going to see the committee, the banking committee in the Senate, looking at doing markups and possibly voting on it. That's going to be a big potential macro event going on, but at the same time, the jury's still out on that one. We don't know all the details. A little more bearish. A lot of pure narratives about tokens without infrastructure going on, which is that we're talking about the tokens, but we don't have the infrastructure for it yet. CZ can talk about tokenization all day long, but the tokenization isn't here yet, so it's not going to materialize. So at best, it's maybe a year or two off. At worst, it's kind of just hype and just narrative spinning. And then lastly, there was a good amount of talks about people building projects, but the speculation is that they're going to build the projects once they get clarity on the regulatory environment, which, as we just talked about, nothing's for sure yet. So there you go.
The only certainty is uncertainty.
The only certainty is the Patriots are playing Seattle in the Super Bowl. It's now official.
Go.
Oh, we got the final score?
Guys.
Yeah, 31-27, Seattle.
Let's see. Boom. There you go. There you go. Tis over.
Go good guys. Boo bad guys. I hate bad guys so much, dude. Good guys are where it's at.
Well, if you don't like bad guys, you probably don't like the Patriots then. Ugh.
Hey, what? They're the underdogs.
No, Brendan said Patriots are good guys, Zenith.
No, I'm speaking as a Colts and Broncos fan with PTSD from the 2000s and 2010s.
Ah.
When every year you'd get to the conference championships and the Patriots would be there and slime out your team real good, and you're just like, what are we even doing here, man? What
was it 2014 where the Broncos got stomped by the Seahawks at the Super Bowl? Am I remembering correctly?
That sounds about right. I think I was in college at the time. It was one of them. The Broncos got stomped super hard one year, and then the next year they come back and win it. And it was a good time.
Yep.
Anyways, already I got a couple things that we didn't quite get to today, but I just wanted to put it on your radar. So up first, U.S. Bank's lobby states that fighting stablecoin yield is top priority for 2026. They came out and released what is an ABA blueprint for growth, but inside of there is a bit of a strategy where they're talking about their goal is to stop stablecoin payments from becoming deposit substitutes that slash community bank lending by prohibiting paying interest, yield, or rewards regardless of the platform.
So they're plan for building, right? What was the name of their thing? The blueprint for growth is we're gonna break these other guys' kneecaps for doing something better than us. That's what it sounds like to me.
Well, no, it's the American Bankers Association plan for growth, not anybody else's.
Yeah. Their plan for growth is to stomp on the cryptocurrencies nutsack. And is that, am I understanding that correctly?
Pretty much. This is the big debate with the Clarity Act.
That's not a plan for growth. That's like, oh, somebody might do better than me. I better kill them. That's what that is. That's not, I'm going to take your shit and do good with it. That's competition. Well, let me get out my my switchblade and just kind of jab him in the neck.
Growth through maintaining the monopoly. Yes.
Yeah. Growth through violence of anyways, enough from me.
All right. Other one, didn't quite get time to get to today, but the Bank of Japan did just have a meeting this last week. They have decided to keep interest rates at 0.75%. Sounds pretty nice. Would be cool if maybe we had that for, buying a house, but that would have serious ramifications globally.
Yeah.
But why do we care about the Bank of Japan? Well, they are the ongoing saga of the yen carry trade, aka the Bank of Japan had interest rates at effectively zero for a long time. And that was a source of pretty much free money for the world for a while there. And then last year, it stopped. And people legitimately call on Jerome Powell to take emergency action and do an emergency Fed meeting to cut interest rates drastically because people got out over their skis. Again, this continues to be one of the lowest interest rates in the world. And, well, the world economies are largely tied together at this point. I would say almost entirely so. They have the ability to operate slightly independently, but honestly, when it comes to stuff like this, it kind of affects the world as a whole. So, summary, Bank of Japan kept its benchmark. Bitcoin traded slightly below 90K, reflecting short-term calm. And then indicators are showing support at about 89 or 90K. But since then, we did break down a little bit below that and got all the way down to 86K over the last 24 hours. But outside of that, pretty much the whole point is, look, crypto is in the monetary game at this point. You got to deal with all the monetary in the world, and that includes the Bank of Japan doing what they're doing. Little bit of a more fun
Hey,
one
Z,
here. Yeah.
I just want to say, I mean, the one thing is, ever since the Bank of Japan had, what was that, about a year ago, where they raised rates and and then it collapsed markets by 30-40%. I will say, recently we've seen a lot of people unwinding their investments in the Japanese markets, and so the carry trade isn't holding as much weight. Is it still there? Yes. Are people still taking advantage of it? Yes. Is it going to be as much of a catastrophic event if they raise interest rates again as it was a year ago? No, because people are already expecting it on some level and de-risking. And so it's not as bad as it would have been, but it's still there. It's still it's still on the horizon in a sense, right?
Yeah, exactly. The full story is not out on this one just yet. There will be more developments. And again, it's a complex world, but this is one of the pieces that was dominating for a good chunk of 2020. I want to say 2024, actually. So just keep an eye on it. There's more to come. Alrighty, a little bit of a fun one for you to close up on. GameStop likely to sell Bitcoin holdings. GameStop has transferred its entire Bitcoin holdings to Coinbase institutional trading platform, sparking speculation that the video game retailer may be reconsidering its Bitcoin treasury. GameStop throws in the towel? Blockchain intelligence platform CryptoQuant asked in a post on Friday after noticing they moved 4,710 Bitcoin worth more than $422 million to Coinbase Prime. They said that the transfer was likely to sell the holdings, noting that a sale with Bitcoin at 90K would mean GameStop would be realizing a $76 million loss on the bet. They've accumulated this much across several investments in May at an average price of $107,900. So, GameStop, you could argue they're some of the originators of the diamond hands meme. Maybe not diamond handing the thing that should be diamond handed.
You know what though? They're a company. They're traded publicly. Why not put your money on Binance Institution and get 5% on your Bitcoin holdings? They're already not I'm sorry, I wouldn't be surprised if they're just moving over to get 5%. Should they have done that 2 years ago? No, I don't think so, because I think you should hold your own coins. But if I'm a company needing to appease my investors, then why not go get 5-6% of my Bitcoin yield? I don't even know what it is right now, but I know it's been around historically about 5-6% for institutional holders. And for that amount, maybe it's even a little bit more. But yes, I think that even if they're not going to sell it, yield, and they're not the first one to do this. A lot of people have moved coins to Bitcoin, Coinbase Institution to be able to gain yield on their coins. So I'm not there yet. I just think people want to get clicks, but I'd be surprised if they did, but I don't know.
It's not outside the realm possibility that they sell a loss.
Not at all. No.
And your point that they're a publicly traded company, they're beholden to the investors. yeah, if your investors are looking at quarterly earnings instead of a 5-year to 10-year outlook, yeah, that Bitcoin treasury might be going back on the market. Alrighty, gents, that pretty much does it for us here tonight. Do we have any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Final
Going to San
thoughts.
Francisco.
Going to San Francisco. Let me check my campfire stories.
That's what the rule is.
Nothing financial. We've got the market panic has gone crazy as Trump has dropped the Greenland trade war. He also says there's a large number of U.S. war fleet or a large fleet of U.S. warships moving towards Iran. We've got gold at 5,000. Nothing really super crazy happened. I mean, me and Brendan covered a lot of the Greenland talk on Wednesday, and man, that was a good, fun show. I will say that was quite a good one.
Excellent. And by the way, Trump did also give a talk at Davos. If you're into the political theater and especially the comedy aspect of it, you might get a kick out of it. Gavin Newsom was in the crowd as well, and there was a cameraman that had an excellent pan over to him when Trump was giving him a little roast. So it felt like a good moment from The Office. So check it out if you're interested. Just funny stuff, but at the same time, a lot of the usual stuff from Trump on that one, honestly. Just talking about crypto as the future. We're trying to build on blockchain. We want to be the crypto capital of the world. And, well, he's got 3 more years to really secure that position. So we'll see if he makes good on that. Alrighty. Tell you what, gentlemen, it is time to do the thing. So, Brendan, where can the folks find you, and what do you got going on in the near future?
Oh, man, I got 2 weeks to decompress before the Super Bowl. Patriots, Seattle. So I am going to be trying to relax, maybe not drink as much, but work's been super stressful. So I'll be working hard, working a lot. We have some big deals that we're trying to close and finish up. And this week has been nuts. So tomorrow working from home because of the snow. I'm not going to lie. Looking forward to that. Other than that, you can find me in the chat. We've actually had some really good conversations this week in the Telegram. So join us there. Z, by the way, I have to call you out. I tagged you in the anime chat in regard to Freerun Season 2 coming out, and that you hadn't seen Freerun Season 1.
I've been working on it, actually, okay?
And by the way, you ghosted me, not even a response.
I gotta say, Brendan, if you're trying to get a hold of Zenith and you're doing it in Telegram, not gonna happen, broski. Zenith does not check Telegram. Never, ever.
About it.
Sorry, I've gotten to the point where I'm in a lot of telegrams, and
that's fine.
The spam is also hitting me up as well.
Casey,
you don't have to qualify.
I could just text you. You don't have to. It's not a place where you need to check your phone. In fact, I respect it because as someone who's just deleted a couple social media apps recently to try to reduce my screen time, with us being in crypto a lot, we're on our computers, we're on our phones. I'm on my phone a lot for work. I'm on my computer a lot for work, and I am trying to reduce my screen time because it's a slight addiction for me. So I don't actually give you shit. I respect it and keep doing what you're doing, brother. But nonetheless, Freerun Season 2, Brendan and I watched the first episode, and man, Freerun's so good, man. Yeah, he gets so good. Also, and I know you're a Dragon Ball fan. I'm pretty sure. No, never?
Not really. Dragon Ball was a thing I was exposed to on Cartoon Network when my parents told me that Cartoon Network was not something we watch in that household. It's an early anime, and it suffers from the last 5 minutes is the first 5 minutes of the next episode, and vice versa. But I mean, I'll say this much: I have been watching more Freerun. I think I'm up to it's like the first arc. It's probably like episode 12 or something, where there's like the demon that's trying to like infiltrate the town, and they fight back and stuff. And this has been better. The animation, I will say, is fantastic. I remember what's the name of the guy with the orange hair with the axe? Is it Laird? Nice try.
The main character?
No, not Freerun. He's a main character. He wears like a red jacket, uses a battle axe.
Yes, he's the frontliner.
Stark.
Stark, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stark. Yeah.
The episode where they introduce him and he fights the dragon. That is some of the best animation and like fight scene choreography I've seen in a while. And I was like, okay, this is pretty dang good stuff.
The animation is great. And look, I understand some people aren't used to a slow character development anime, which is a bit more rare these days, especially for box office animes. but Freerun really tells a unique story of like what is life to an elf that lives essentially forever compared to a human that lives for 80 years. It's like a speck in the drop of time. And it honestly, I don't know. I've really started to just absolutely love it. And I'll tell you, it gets better and better. It does start off a little slow with the character building, but believe me, it's worth it moving forward. And you're just getting to the tip of the iceberg, because I think the rest of the series is pretty dominant.
Fair enough. The one that I've been very excited about was Call of the Night Season 2. I've been really enjoying that one. Season 2 has been a lot of fun so far. I'm almost done with it. So that's what I've been watching. And there's so much stuff coming out this season. We got so much good stuff.
Yeah.
We got My Hero Vigilantes, Jujutsu Kaisen.
Just came out?
Yep. Oh, there's so much.
And by the way, this is just the winter season. Winter season doesn't normally have big hits. Doesn't normally have things like Freerun or Jujutsu Kaisen or things like that. They usually save that for the spring rollout. And so I'm a bit surprised at the winter rollout. It means that like spring rollout might be freaking ridiculous.
Oh yeah. If you're an anime fan, this could be a very big year for you. And we're coming off of what was also a massive year.
I mean, it's arguable that last year was one of the best like rollouts of Crunchyroll that they've ever had.
Oh yeah.
Now there's just been some really, really good shows. Like, by the way, Solo Leveling, that didn't come out in January. When's that coming out? Probably fall. It's probably already announced. I just haven't looked it up. Like, I don't have time to look up all these animes. But I really like Solo Leveling. That was probably one of my top 2 animes last year. That and Freerun. But anyway, you can find me watching anime. That's what I'm trying to say.
Excellent. Alrighty, Mr. Will Stevenson, where can the folks find you and what do you got going on in the near future?
Folks at home can find me and all my socials at will.pls.fyi. I am in Dallas for the next week, and then I will be headed down to College Station to go and help my brother build his business. And that's what I'm going to be doing. So if you guys want to check out anything that I'm doing or see any of my ridiculous stuff that's going on, then that's where you can find me, both physically and ethereally. And then also in the DGen Roundtable Telegram, where I spend a bunch of my time and I check messages and I look for things. So if you guys want to get a hold of me, the DGen Roundtable Telegram is the best way. And for those of you guys that are listening, you can go to t.me/DRT join now. Just type that into your URL. It'll take you right over here. For those of you guys watching, you can scan this little QR code right here. Bring you right on in there. It's a good time. I'll probably ask you if you're a bot the first time you'd show up, and then I will I might even delete you. And man, I had a hell of a time reinstating a user that we deleted that we thought was a bot, who reached out to me, and he's like, hey man, like, where'd the DGen Roundtable go? I really liked reading the posts and stuff. Why was I deleted? I'm like, oh fuck. So like there's a whole rigmarole. I had to like add him to contacts and do this, that, and the other, and send him like personal invite links and remove him from the removed users list. And man, it was a whole rigmarole, but totally worth it, because boy howdy do we get a lot of bots joining. And me and Brendan, we swing the band hammer quite often, as well as some of the other admins in there. So It's a good time. I will be watching maybe some One Piece or maybe some more Berserk. And that's where I will stick with my anime, because I love Berserk and One Piece is, moderately amusing. That's what I got going on, and that's where I'm found. Zenith, have you thought of a book for next week's book club yet? What do you got going on in the near future?
So yes, we're doing book club 8 p.m. Eastern time on Friday. I'm hosting this one. I have actually been bombarded by suggestions, including the one that Moondog put in the chat here tonight. I'm going to give it a look. If it's good, I think I'm going to call it for that one. But outside of that, this other one is a recommendation from Rudyard Lynch. I need to go find the name of it. It was on one of the streams he was covering. And yeah, slacking. I know, my bad. But yes, book club, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Whiskey Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time as always. And next Sunday for our flagship news show. Every Sunday, as always, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We will catch you guys. What?
I wanted to ask, have you been able to work out a thing with Twinkie for the 60-day cycle change theory yet? Has that been a thing? I remember somebody mentioning that a while back.
Yes, we've done the research, but we haven't found a date to link up yet.
Okay.
We'll try to get that reestablished. But yes, folks, Mr. Angry Twinkie, good friend of ours, good friend of yours, hopefully, and has his own crypto channel as well. Streams with another one of our good friends, Crypto Buggy. he posed the idea that we've actually transitioned from a 60-day cycle to an 80-day cycle starting in 2025. I've been doing some number crunching on that as well. I think there's a very plausible case for it, but one of the main issues is that, well, if you have a 60-day cycle, the year is 360 days long, so theoretically you're only going to get 7 cycles, and if you move to an 80-day cycle, you're looking at something closer to 5, even less than that. So trying to actually do statistical analysis on a sample size that small, there's a lot of gray area and room for error. So we'll present the findings, but cutting edge research from Mr. Angry Twinkie. Shout out to that guy. He does fantastic work, by the way. Yes, that is in the near future in the works. Do it. Do we? If we have more, we have more.
We do.
Sir.
We do have more, by the way. Before you go too far, some final chat motherfucking shoutouts. Book Club Moondog post. Could be a fun crypto book club. DeFi and Future of Finance is the book that I have. Could use Hex Search to supplement with RH quotes and philosophy on the protocols, and maybe touch on early Pulse Wrap Bitcoin farm drama and things like that. We've also got a comment from Mr. Sam here talking about everyone pushes their own narrative all the time. It doesn't mean that it can't help you. Yes, absolutely. That is a good caveat to add to the thing that I was saying about Changpeng Zhao, is that like everyone's going to push their own narrative. It's just you have to understand that people are doing this. So it's like, of course they're doing it. Does it hurt me? Does it help me? So an absolute fantastic point there. We've also been joined by Mr. Funkmaster Hex, who says, "Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good evening to you too, sir." Mr. Funkmaster Hex, shout out to you. We get to experience a little bit of the pain of the Great White North down here in Texas for once. And then also Mr. Fast Abdul, who reminds us that he is here for the technology. So that concludes the chat shoutouts, Mr. Zenith. Where can folks find you, and what have you got going on in the near future, sir?
Well, I'll tell you this much. World of Warcraft Classic Anniversary is having the Burning Crusade launch on February 5th, and my Paladin is 6 levels away from the max cap, so I will be grinding that. But outside of that, if you don't care, you can find me over on X and Instagram at zenithdi, or all of us inside of the Telegram down below. Go ahead and at me. I will be paying more attention to this week as I've just been called out live on stream. But more importantly than that, we hope that you guys tune in for all of our excellent shows, because we love hanging out with you guys, talking with you guys. Great chats tonight. We expect even better chats on Wednesday for our community show, where you can hop on here with us, cut it up. And then, of course, we'll be back on Friday for book club. As always, looking forward to that one as well. Anyways, it's a great irony, Will, that you called out Telegram to me, because guess where I keep the end of show copywriting? Yes, it is pinned in our chat on Telegram. So
I can click away while you do the thing.
Sounds good. You can, Mr. Producer, it for me. So, folks, I want to thank you all for spending your valuable time with us here on the DGen Roundtable. As our Agent Jay often says, we know that time is your most valuable asset, and we appreciate you guys spending it every time right here with us. Mr. Producer Will, go ahead and get that trigger finger ready, because it's time to remind all the folks at home to remember to DGen responsibly.